We're talking today about one of the hottest young Vancouver Canucks players on the team and a guy who projects to being a superstar in the making. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the future of Zeev Buium, a guy who has garnered a lot of positive attention from Canucks fans, media, and analysts alike, not just because of the age of this guy, and the growth and the development and the talent of what he brings as a prospect, but because of some of the comments made by Zeev Buium about wanting to build a positive, winning environment in Vancouver. There's a lot to like out of Zeev Buium, and he's saying all the right things. But with that said, there's a very particular conversation we should be having about Zeev that is not actually going to start until the summer. But that doesn't mean we can't bring it up now. Zeev Buium was drafted by the Minnesota Wild 12th overall in the 2024 NHL Entry Draft. He is on his ELC that expires in 2027. But because that is the expiration year, it means that the Vancouver Canucks are able to sign Zeev Buium to an extension starting July 1st, 2026. There is a very real and very legit conversation to have about what the Canucks should do when it comes to giving Zeev Buium his next NHL contract. Now, I wanted to give a big shout out over to Max Hardwood on the R Canucks subreddit, because what they did was they posted a link to Thomas Drance's newest article talking about the Vancouver Canucks' off-season to-do list, and how it starts with going long-term on Zeev Buium. Now, I wanted to save some time here because Thomas Drance, in the article that he wrote on The Athletic, it's really intricate. It's very analytical, it's very specific to what the rules of the CBA are and what the rules of the CBA are going to be by the time September 15th rolls around. We have made videos about that in the past, by the way, if you're interested. But there is a conversation to have about whether or not the right move for Vancouver is to bridge Zeev Buium on his next deal or sign him long-term. The thing is, you can make the argument that both of these ideas have had former deterrents that make it not really seem all too desirable to do again. If you say, oh, you should bridge Zeev Buium, sign him to a short-ish term deal, and then try to see what he can become before giving him the big bucks later on, well, you risk having a Quinn Hughes 2.0 situation then. And on the other hand, you can say, well, Zeev Buium is young, so why not go out there and sign him to a long-term 8-year extension? Do it before September 15th, do it before the new CBA rules. There are going to be some people, at the very least, who will say, wait a minute, the last time the Canucks did an 8-year deal for a young dude, it was Elias Pettersson. And to be fair, there are very different elements of both the Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson contract conversations. Compared to Zeev Buium, it is not the exact same here. Even on the R Canucks subreddit, there are some comments on this post discussing whether or not Buium should be extended for 8 years. This commenter says that they should try to do that. There's another discussion on what Zeev and his representation would want. Potentially a 2 to 4 year bridge deal to maximize earnings, although Vancouver signing him at 7-7 or 8x8 is probably ideal. This reply says, yeah, I wouldn't make the same mistake of bridge deals with a guy like Zeev. We learned that lesson with Quinn Hughes already. Plus, 8-year deals are becoming more popular with young rookies to lock them up at a good term early on. Jake Sanderson, Lane Hudson, and Matt Boldy are great examples. I'd love for us to be more aggressive in locking up a guy like Buium for long. Now, the funny part is, I don't actually know if those guys are super comparable. As Exit goes out there and replies, all three of those guys showed a lot more promise and play than Buium has before signing those long-term contracts. Which I do think is a very fair point to bring up too. Zeev Buium, as good as he is and as young as he is, he hasn't necessarily had the best debut to his NHL career. Now, I can understand. He's 20 years old. He's very young. He was 19 playing in Minnesota. He had 14 points in 31 games. In Vancouver, he's got 8 points in 32 games, which makes a total of 22 points in 63 games played. That's really not great, but then you think about it, it's like, okay, well, the guy's 20 and he's playing on the Canucks, and the Canucks are terrible. And it's not like Zeev is a bad player either. He is showing off some skill. He's making plays. Is he the best offensively? Definitely not. But he's young, he's going to get more experience, and we've already mentioned this, but Zeev Buium is one of these guys that, on top of just being a winner everywhere he has gone, he seems to be a very positive force in the Vancouver Canucks locker room when it comes to young guys trying to cultivate a new culture and dedicate themselves to winning with this city, which is a great thing. It's something that I think you can't necessarily say was too present in some of the other conversations, like with Quinn Hughes, for example. But for Zeev Buium, you have to remember that if the Canucks are going to bridge him for a short-term deal, there is this idea that says, okay, well, we want to help you potentially get the most money you can, because we're going to sign you to a pretty small money term deal, and you're going to be able to outplay that in the future. That's setting up the player for success. It's setting up a guy like Quinn Hughes, for example, to go out there and only play 6 seasons on a contract, which admittedly 6 years isn't like a pure bridge deal. It's decently long term. But if Vancouver were to go 8 years, then hey, they would have had Quinn Hughes until 2029. And the entire conversation of him wanting out maybe would have been addressed later, or maybe even not at all, which then again, I'm thinking about it, it's like, if the guy really didn't want to stay in Vancouver, then there's no real reason to have gone out there and done that. But then there's the other conversation as well. Elias Pettersson is a guy that ended up signing for way too much, and he got a full 8-year deal. The problem was he ended up signing a dollar amount that is more representative of a player that does not exist anymore. This 22, 23, 100-point PD is not the same guy these days. And so you could debate that for Zeev Buium, it's like, okay, well, it's not like he actually has displayed that top-tier talent like a Sanderson or a Hudson has at the NHL level, so why go out there and give him the 8-year deal by $8 million a year too? Here's the thing, though. If you take a look at the previous guy that Vancouver had on D that was supposed to be that top LHD role, Quinn Hughes actually was an inferior defenseman compared to Zeev Buium up until their first NHL years. If you take a look at the comparison over here, you'll see that Zeev Buium, throughout the course of his development and younger days, actually did have somewhat stronger numbers than Quinn Hughes. At age 17, Zeev Buium was playing for the U18 NTDP team, and he had 40 points in 63 games. Quinn Hughes had 53 points in 65 games. So, okay, 17, Quinn's technically better. At age 18, though, first year in the NCAA, Quinn Hughes has 29 points in 37 games with the Wolverines. Buium has 50 points in 42 games with the Pioneers. More points. You also had a better showcase at the World Juniors. Buium had 3 goals, 2 assists for 5 points at 18 years old on the World Junior team, which is a U20 tournament. Quinn Hughes also made the World Juniors. He only had 3 points in 7 games. At age 19, Zeev Buium has 48 points in 41 games. Quinn Hughes has 33 points in 32 games. Zeev Buium also outproduces Quinn Hughes at both the regular World Championships for Team USA and the World Juniors one more time. Buium gets 6 points in 7 World Junior games and 4 points in 8 World Championship games. Quinn Hughes gets 2 and 3 points respectively. So for ages 18 and 19 in the NCAA and for Team USA at these international tournaments, Zeev Buium was technically more productive. It's just, in his first NHL season, Quinn Hughes had 53 points, and he was a point per game in the playoffs. Zeev Buium is on pace for about 27 points over 76 games. He hasn't displayed that talent in the NHL just yet. But as we had mentioned, the Canucks are so bad, nobody is producing points on this team, really, so it's hard to fully quantify. If Zeev Buium ends up attaining higher highs, what's the dollar amount worth on that? And is it better to believe that he's going to do that versus letting him set himself up for more money by giving him a bridge deal and saying, okay, yeah, you can re-sign later? and then you can get more money later. There also is the opportunity that he takes that chance to leave. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this Zeev Buium contract conversation and how it compares to both Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson? Bridge him? Long-term him? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on. And bye.